Hi. I'm going to do some channeling today. And that means I love energy to pass through me. It turns into a message in my throat and comes out for you. Now, today we're doing a special sort of setup where we have Ash over here. He's going to ask them some questions, or they're going to lead him somewhere. Something's going to happen. There's going to be an energetic exchange here. So it's not the usual format, it's a little bit different, but it's always intriguing, and one never knows where we're going to end up. So stay tuned. Okay, I'll say goodbye. Oh, so we have arrived at a great scene. We're going to tell you a little story here before we get started. It's as if there is a movie set, and movie sets are look as if they are real, and yet they are not. But to the human eye, you could not tell the difference. So there is a certain way about humans that they would prefer to live a life on a movie set than they would to live a dirty, down and out, emotional ridden, anger, sad life. And this is always curious about humans. Humans have this ideal when you first come in that you want to feel it all and get to the depths and the heights of a human experience. But once you get rolling, you think, no, forget it. Now we want to live a life like a movie set. And we set it, and nothing ever moves. It's always the blue house with the number 2. Nothing ever changes because it's fake, it's altered, it's a false reality. So it's important to note for humans when they are having a false reality in their own lives. When are they living on a movie set? Are you living on a movie set? Is who all the humans living on a movie set? Or are you actually experiencing life step by step, breath by breath, and emotion by emotion? For this is a true life lived. When you are finished at the end, you'll say, oh, that was tough and wonderful. Not everything was predictable and pretty, and I knew how it was going to end. I knew what they were going to say. I knew the house was always going to be blue. So it is important to begin this conversation with this. So even during this energetic exchange, it's important for people to understand this is not a movie. This is not acting. This is an energetic exchange that causes an emotional reaction in others, you and those who are listening. So it's true. It's true when you have the emotional reaction to an interchange or a conversation, when you're moved. Why are you moved? Because something is truth, something is real, something is to be noticed. There's something for you to look at. When you're having a movie life, nothing is unexpected. You don't cry unexpectedly or laugh or anything. You cry on cue. You get angry on cue. So we are pointing out that it's important for at each moment of your life to notice what you're doing. If you're living a movie life, fine, just say it. If you're living an honest to goodness, step by step, not knowing what the next thing will be, what the next page will be, then you are living that kind of life. So, and also that it's important that this understanding that this exchange is not a movie set, it's not an act, it is a true energetic exchange. But no matter what or where you are, just notice it, and not really, we are not suggesting that anyone judge where they are, because that does no good. Just notice where you are. Not say that's bad or good, just it is. This is where I am, this is where I'm living. I'm living a movie life, I'm living a knockdown life, whatever it is, just notice the thing. And also what sort of emotion is evoked when this energetic exchange is being experienced by others. What emotion is evoked during this exchange? For not you so much, you are a different sort of creature that lives a little bit more lightly and less energetic, emotional. So you are not so triggered by this energetic exchange, but there are many who are. Because the importance of this energetic exchange is that humans have asked to know this. They've asked to know about the movie life, the real life. Is this a movie? All of this. They've asked these things. So they will get an energetic reaction when they hear this response. For all of a sudden they recognize something has heard me. I have sent a request out into the air and a response has come to me. What does that mean? More noticing. I send it out, I hear an answer. Oh, what's this about? More noticing. And a human life is about this. Living each day, noticing what's going on around, what's happening, what energetic exchange are occurring. Not so much mental games. Those are part of the experience too. But we speak of the energy, which causes emotional reactions, and that's how you know when you're in a certain vibrational energy, because you're moved in some way, anger, sad, whatever it is. Your emotions are triggered. Then you know some emotional work is happening. And energy is involved always with emotions. It is the trigger for emotions. So we have just jumped right in here because there were some important questions that required a response. So we are wishing to share this information with those who have asked of it. Now we may continue with our conversation, whatever it will bring up on this moment.
Very good. Well, I'm just thinking about the points you just made there. So I think a certain amount of life or being a human is also creating the life that you want. So you can strive, like many people work very hard in the earlier years of their life so they can relax a little bit more in the later years of the life, and they're economically stable. So it gives you opportunity to explore new things and do things that you want to do. So in that way, you're not following a pattern that's predetermined or routine, but you're, experiencing travel, for example. You can travel to different places and see other parts of the world other cultures that you might not be familiar with. So that's quite exciting and stimulating for most people. So I see it as you're trying to survive and get through the experience, because you have to put some effort into it. Otherwise, you're going to have a very difficult time with it. But with some effort and good fortune, and for most people, things turn out in a positive way for them. So they're kind of co-creating their experience in the sense that, yes, I want to travel, I want to do these things, or things they'd like to do, so they go and do it if they have the financial means and the ability and the physical ability, I guess, to do that.
So this scenario that you have put forth is a perfect scenario of a regular human life and the expectations of those who are able to hope for it. So you yourself have shown up as a person. You're speaking of yourself when you present this scenario. There are many who do not live with this notion that you have put forth, but you are here to represent the folks that are like this. Now, where this story goes awry is when different scenarios come in that were not predicted. This is when the human that has put forth this idea of a life and how they want it to unfold. This is where they get to choose if they're going to live a life in the moment, or whether they're going to force their will upon a life that is not in their best interest. You see, so there is a crossroads with all humans when you have a beautiful story set to unfold and things fall apart. What happens then? At the moment that they fall apart, you're following us now. At the moment they fall apart, this is the moment of true life. Do I continue, or do I step out, or do I force my will somewhere? And now this is a time of noticing. Now, many will miss the noticing. Many will miss the noticing and sitting in an extremely painful emotion. Humans do not like to live this way, but it's very important so the event does not reoccur. So when you have this conflict against your plans, if you're able to sit in the extreme emotion that is you think was disastrous, that will possibly kill you, such extreme emotion such as this, when you're able to sit in this, your connection to the universe truly comes about. This is the actual moment of life, not to the going on the vacation and the pretty things, not that. The moment where a crisis occurs. How do you handle it? Do you connect with something outside of you, or do you fold within? Again, or you use the self-will and stomp someone else down. That's another way of proving that you're in control of your life when you're really not. So this, what you speak of, is it's possible. It's possible that it might unfold step by step, but more than likely it's not. So the true lesson is this moment of confrontation, where do you believe in there's more than just you planning a life or not? So we would say for you, and we'll bring you into it only for a moment of crisis is when your true, your highest self, your energetic self comes out.
Okay. I think about it as that's the time when you have to really knuckle down, I guess, and think of
Yes,
what you need to do. So, you know, I guess I take a position of being more self-reliant, and that, well, if you
yes,
got into the position, it might not necessarily be your fault, but you'd better work hard to get your
yes,
way out of it. Where it's from what you're saying implies to me there, another approach is, well, it happened and it's an energetic experience, and I could be upset about it, but I can just accept it for what it is, and I know that it will change and things will be different tomorrow. Well, they may or may not. I guess it comes like as a philosophy of, are you going to follow a path of self-determinism where you can somehow drive your own fate, or do you follow a path of existentialism, I guess, where some other force is driving your life and you're just a witness to it? I think
yes.
there's
Now
somewhere
there's some
in between is the truth.
middle. So you are presenting those. That depends on which human. There are some humans that will go all of the self-reliant, and there are some others who will go all of the spiritual route, you would say. There are some of those that do that all of the time. That's the way they live their lives. But the others are somewhere in the middle, and there are many different options in here. But the one that we are bringing forth is the one where you sit in whatever is happening to you. Now, whether this is an experience, a spiritual experience, or whether it's a mess of a human disaster, whatever it is, it's sitting in it. And this is the point many humans don't wish to do. So, what we are suggesting is that if you're sitting in a good place, sit in it. Hear the birds, smell the flowers. If you're sitting in a bad place, sit in it. Hear the birds, smell the flowers. This is what we are getting to. No matter where you are, sit down and feel it and allow it to be the truth of the moment, and allow it to pass, for it will in the moment, and connect with whatever you can, become part of whatever you're capable of becoming, part of the air, part of the birds, part of the universe, part of mankind, part of the floor, whatever you're able to become part of. Notice this. So it doesn't matter what the result is, and it doesn't matter whether you're extremely happy or extremely sad. Just be aware of what it is. And this practice does not take long. It takes a few moments, many times per day, perhaps, but a few moments of where you are. This is being present in your human life. And this is why we say it doesn't matter really what happens to you. It's just it only matters what you do and how present you are. This word is overused right now for you. So we would say being in the moment and being aware of your surroundings and whatever emotion it is you're feeling without judgment on it. And this is the difficult part. For humans love happiness and they very much dislike anger and sadness. But yet there's no difference energetically. They are both emotions caused by which are only reactions to a vibrational energy within you. So if they're one or the other, it is not right or wrong either. So what we are suggesting is for you to sit in the emotion no matter what it is, and not judge is this good or bad. Not just the emotions, but the lifestyle. That's how humans live. It doesn't matter whether your self will run riot or whether you're an angel floating among the homeless. It doesn't matter. It's whether you are able to be in the place where you are, whatever you're experiencing, without judging the others or yourself for being there. This is a complicated notion, and yet quite simple.
Well, I wouldn't say it's complicated to understand. It's just more difficult to do, I think, because
Yes.
we're emotional beings. So
Yes.
I think I tend to react emotionally to the situation. If I'm sitting on a warm beach with sun and everything is serene, then I can feel quite happy very easily and enjoy that moment.
Yes, although perhaps a plane will fall and crash right on top of you and those around you, would you still sit happily in the sunshine?
No, because an event had occurred. So I would react to that situation and my emotion would change to that. So again, I would have a hard time sitting and witnessing a catastrophe like that and having no emotional feeling to say, oh, that's interesting that
Ah,
happened. I'll
yes,
see what happens in the next moment and
yes,
have no reaction to it. That would
yes,
seem to be insane.
yes. No, we do not mean that. We mean you may sit in happiness in a happy place, and yet tragedy might strike in a moment. You may sit in sadness, and a joyful event might occur in the next moment. This is what we are saying. You don't know really what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Joyful or sad where you're sitting, the next moment might be the opposite. This is why we are saying there's no point judging, and there's no reason for you to be happy in a happy place and sad in a sad place. You may be happy in a sad place and sad in a happy place also.
Mhm. Okay, well, let me just change that theme slightly and say, what happens for somebody? You have lots of people who have anxiety and they sit in worry and in fear, or maybe there's something happened in their childhood and they just sit in anger their whole life.
Yes,
And generally, those people manifest some sort of physical disease as a result of that
yes,
dis-ease, right?
yes,
So I would say that because those lower feelings, sadness, anger, because those they cause that sort of disease in the body, that would not be a good place to be. So you would wanting to find situations that elevate your vibration or be in a
yes.
higher feeling.
We will explain this. Certainly, when we say it is important to sit in emotion, it's only for a moment. It's not for days and days and days, neither to sit in happiness or sadness. When you sit in one or the other too long, it's self will. For emotions do not stay that long by themselves. Only if you make them stay, if you put self will into it. I'm going to be this, I'm going to be this, and you accelerate it, accelerate it, accelerate it. I'm sad, I'm going to be sadder and sadder and sadder. This is not what we speak of. We are speaking of sitting in emotion in order to surrender to it, allow it to neutralize itself so it's really nothing, good or bad, and then check out what's around you. What can you hear? What can you feel? Are you able to connect with the universe now? Emotions draw attention to you having a physical body, and they also propel you into the divine world. Now, that will take a bit of explanation. For what you are suggesting is that sadness causes more sadness, and therefore happiness causes more happiness. This can be done by self will for a while. The host prefers to be happy. Find something happy, 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 happy. This does not mean that the life is happy. This means that the human is creating through self will concentration something that looks like it's happy. It's an exterior feeling. It might not be the interior one. For at the interior, the truest part of most humans, if you can sit in these emotions for a moment, allow them to be. Oh, you look very angry, you seem very sad, and just talk about it. It gets boring after a while, and you say, is there anything else here? All right, we've talked about sadness or anger for many, many minutes. Is there anything else here to be learned, to be seen, or to be felt? So when you sit in it and you decide, oh, there's nothing more here, then what is there? There's emptiness, there's space, there's nothing now. Now there's no emotion. This is true freedom. This is your entrance into the divine world, the divine way of life in humanity. When you decide after your emotions get the attention they need, you may move forth into what? Nothingness? Into nothingness. And as you sit in nothingness, you start to realize, I don't think I feel worthy of nothingness or extreme love. And this is at the base of mankind, a sense of unworthiness for love. That's why there are emotions, happy and sad. No one wants to get to that part, which is the most painful of all things that you can experience. You're not worthy of life or love. No one wants to go there. So, in order to stay away from there, they'll create these other diversions or extreme emotions and stay in them, like you say, for their whole lives. You can certainly stay in emotion for your entire life if that's what you wish, and you will have avoided looking at whether you're worthy of love or not. So, as you finish with the emotions, whatever they are, and there's as a space of nothingness, in the nothingness, you're able to hear the small voice that says this. Am I worthy of unconditional love? Small, tiny voice. We're able to let it sit there, just sit there. Then you'll receive a response, a knowing. Your body will receive a knowing response to this question because every human asks this at some point in their life or many, many times throughout. Some verbalizing it and some covering it up, as we have said. So during this experience, this becomes divine. Now you're open to the answer. Then you're free. Then you're connected to the universe. Then you're able to hear and see things and sense things that are happening to others and yourself before they happen. You're able to hear thoughts of others. You're able to hear voices of non physical. This puts you in a different place of being. What you are speaking of, and what most humans are most comfortable speaking of, is the human existence, and that is fine. But this energetic exchange is about uh, suggesting to humans or supporting humans to move up out of it. Move up out of the sadness if you wish to. If you don't wish to, you're not interested in this energetic exchange. You're not listening to this at all because you don't wish to know this. It's difficult to hear this. So you sit and do your thing and pass through your lifetime. But if you're listening to this vibration, you're curious about moving beyond emotion, moving beyond the ways of mankind. You know there's more to you than what you can see. For you see physical just fine. You see things that you accumulate just fine. You can see emotions just fine. You can hear the voices. But what's happening on the inside is not always coming out because it's covered up by extreme emotions.
Hmm. Can I ask on a personal note? I don't feel like I have a lot like, that I'm bothered. I think I've put the things that have happened to me in the past behind me, and I'm looking forward to what I can do going forward. So in that sense, I feel like I'm open to information or messages that would come through, and yet I have not experienced those things. So
Are
is
you open to a plane crashing on your head right now?
well, I wouldn't welcome it.
But would it be all right? Now, we will explain because you're having extreme reaction to this. Of course, it's not right. What we are meaning is, are you controlling your life, your future, your next move? Do you see what we mean? One is a life that's controlled, and one is a life where you're trusting it to unfold in some interesting way
Hmm.
that you will be able to, that you will always know that you, your energetic self, is safe. Deep within you, you'll have a knowing that everything will be fine, even if a plane crashes on my home. It's an ease, it's a sense, a way of moving through the world in an easy, unpredictable way versus a predictable, happy life. You see, one is orchestrated. We began our conversation with a movie life or a life that just unfolds in some random, erratic, crazy way.
I think I don't know, trying to rationalize that. I feel like I'm lucky enough and I'm self confident enough that I can use some free will to drive what I want to experience in life going forward. And there's things I definitely want to do, the bucket list, so to speak, going forward of things I'd like to do before I pass. But having said that, I'm open to possibilities of what can happen. I mean, this conversation is a perfect example of that, where 2 or 3 years ago, I would say this would be impossible to a conversation, an impossible experience to have, and yet here we are. So I can only relate to my own situation as you're speaking of this. I'm trying to make sense of what you're saying. I'm thinking, well, yeah, I wouldn't go and stand out on a runway hoping that a plane might crash down on my head. I would say, no, that might be dangerous, so I won't do that, right? So there's some things I would say, well, cause and effect, I won't do that because the probability of something happening would be higher, so I'll choose not to do it.
Yes. And may we ask you if you feel safe in a world that is predictably unfolding by your hand?
Well, I guess it's a realization that a percentage of it is predictable. Like, I know if I jump off my balcony, I'm going to hit the ground and injure myself. I would say that's predictable that that will happen. There's a possibility that I might just float and fly away, but I've had my expectation is that gravity would take me to the ground and injure me, right? So, in working with the world, we're trying to deal with these laws of cause and effect that we've learned through our whole life. And that maybe circles back to why some people like a lot of predictability, because they feel fear. And this is a way of not having to have the fear of uncertainty. Other people
There you
go and
are.
climb
You see?
mountains and risk their life, right? Just for the sheer adrenaline rush of the experience, knowing that they might slip and fall and their life would end, but they're quite willing to take that chance for the thrill of it.
Yes. But generally, the risk takers are not here. They are not at this energetic exchange. This energetic exchange is about average humans, humans such as yourself, who, we will use your own words, of course, who are afraid, so they control their lives. We are speaking of these humans. That is what this energetic exchange is about. You are representing some of them, and there are many others who are listening eagerly to know, is there anything to fear from my future? Am I able to let go enough so I may live in the moment? For if there's something to fear in my future, even tomorrow or in a minute, I will not be able to let go. I will hold on tight to what is mine, and I will keep my emotions tightly closed around me. I will not look forward. I will not look to the universe I will stay confined with my energetic self and my human self buckled in. You see, that is this conversation. Can I trust the universe? Is the universe listening? Or must I control things myself and take charge of my own life and control my own destiny? That is what this energetic exchange is about over and over again. We can speak of many different things, but the bottom line is that. Am I safe in the world where I find myself? For many humans do not feel safe. They are afraid.
No, absolutely. But I think for me, reality is somewhere in between. I think there's aspects of your life that you can control and plan and work towards to see unfold. And there's other aspects of your life that if the plane falls on your head, you have no control over that. So don't worry about it. It's like, give me give me the grace to control to was it worry about the things that I can control and to not worry about the things that are completely out of my control, right? So people that have a good grasp of that, I think, are what we would say well grounded or like emotionally well grounded in the world. But you can spend your whole life looking at all of the things that could, it's like you could get hit by a car crossing the street. So you might choose to never cross the street in case you get hit by a car. So that's
Yes.
extreme fear of
Yes.
random events that could happen in the world. But on the other hand, like, you can just bolt across the street and not look for cars and totally rely on the universe that it's going to stop you if a car is going to hit you. I don't, I don't know.
Do you
Personally,
know?
I don't know I
Do
would
you know?
feel that trust because you've already said, well, the support team doesn't necessarily assure you're safe.
Yes.
So I
You
would want to look both ways.
you are using two extreme examples, neither which are exactly correct or true. Do you understand that you have a tendency to use extreme examples so you don't have to stay in the middle?
I'm trying to make the point. I guess I'm trying to contrast the two extremes in
Yes.
order to create a better understanding of what you're saying.
Yes. So the middle is this. If you run across the street and hope nothing hits you, even though it probably will, then stay in that. If you never cross the street, stay in that. If you are planning your future and it doesn't work out, stay in that. If you don't plan your future and you just wing it every day, stay in that. So, what we are saying is stay in whatever emotion it is that you are in. For this is where you are at this moment. Not just you, everyone.
Mhm.
If you're going to be reckless with your life, be reckless with it. Whatever. That's your life. Do it. If you're extra cautious so you can't even live, then live in that. If you're somewhere in the middle, live in that. So the important part for all of this discussion is to notice who you are without judgment and just sit in it so you may allow love to come in and you may love yourself as a risk taker or as a scaredy cat. Whatever you are, love that up. Love up whoever you are. And when you start loving whoever you are, I can't ever cross the street. I'm afraid someday I might get hit by a car. And I love that I am like this. More love comes to this. The universe of love surrounds this. Love attracts more love, kindness, and empathy. Suddenly, the human who's afraid to cross the street isn't anymore. Suddenly, the one reckless with their life, sitting in the love and more love surrounding it, suddenly they're not reckless anymore. Suddenly, they're just balanced beings, walking their life step by step by step. It's a healing process, but the beginning must be accepting of who you are right now. And love that. For the fighting against it, I'm afraid of everything. I shouldn't be. They told me not to be. And my friend, they told me not to be, not to be, not to be. All of this energy goes into it and creates more fear. So more attention is drawn to it. Instead of saying, yes, this is me. I will never cross the street as long as I live. And that's all right. You see?
That makes sense to me now, because now the point is not to judge yourself and to accept yourself. It's not about whether or not you're
No.
predetermining, you're trying to control your life or not. That seems to be a different point you're making now to me.
Yes, this is exactly it. And what is absolutely perfect about you, we adore you because you're predictable. You are a predictable human. You say you work hard, you get this and that and that and that. This is who you are. So you show up with this, and then it is always a disassembling of it to get to the point. We're not speaking of this at all, predictability. No, the universe doesn't care if your life's predictable, if it's good, if it's bad, it's happy or sad. The universe only wishes to support you in where you are so you may come to an emotional understanding of yourself and then allow divine energy to enter into you. Now, all of this discussion, all of this humanity we're speaking of is to get to a single point, which is after you accept where you are, after you connect with something outside of yourself, after you believe something hears you when you call out, then you're able to allow love to pass through you to others. That's what you're doing there. But before we ever get to that statement, we must discuss all of the humanity before we get to what are you doing on earth? What are you all doing there? You're trying to allow love to pass through you to others. And how will you do this? You will not do this by judging your behavior or predicting your life. None of this. You will only do this by surrendering to the truth of who you are at the moment and allowing yourself to become one with the universe. Then you'll be connected to other humans. Then you'll allow the love to flow through you. So you must never miss the final point, which is that. That's what all of this discussion is about. As pleasant as it is, what is really important is to allow love to flow through you. Then you will feel part of humanity. Then you will feel part of the universe of love, and you will feel part of eternity. And then you will be fulfilled. Only then will you be truly fulfilled and know that your life is complete when you understand this. Shall we end on that note?
Sure. I had other questions to ask, but that's okay. We can.
Do you not think that is the most perfect ending that could be?
It's very thematic for what the information you've been presenting today.
Especially because we have spoken of movie sets, yes? And that this is not predictable and this is not a movie set. And now we wish to have a theatrical exit like this, where the movies, what are they called? The words, the names are rolling at the end, you see? So we began with a movie and we end with the credits of the movie. Is that not a perfect discussion from beginning to end?
Certainly. From a galaxy far, far away.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Let us do namaste together.
Namaste.
Namaste.